My name is James McCully, AE2. My dad was a radioman in World War II. James McCully also. He's James McCully Sr. and I'm James McCully Jr. He served in the Pacific and he was on a sub chaser in the Pacific during World War II. Heard his stories and saw his pictures and so on. So and actually before my grandfather was in the Navy too in World War I. So I enlisted in the Navy in 1965. Went to boot camp at Great Lakes. It sucked. No, but actually my first impression was how friggin' cold we were. I went in, it was the end of August, I guess. And when we got to the Great Lakes, it was cold, and I had all I had was a short sleeve shirt, and that was it. And of course, once we were there a week or so, they gave us our uniforms and so on. So I was able to tolerate the cold a little bit better. But yeah, it was cold, and all we did was march, march from place to place, and learn about the the Uniform Code of Justice and all, military justice and all that stuff. How to be a sailor. Well, my dad told me when I went in, just do what you're told and you'll be fine. So that's what I did. I did whatever they told me to do, and I had no problems. I didn't have any disciplinary problems. I just, like I said, did what I was told and stayed out of trouble. Well, it's all about discipline, It's they wake you up at 2 o'clock in the morning just to go out and stand in the cold, and they get you up to do wash in the middle of the night, wash your clothes in the middle of the night, stuff like that. It was all, it's pretty well known that they break you down and build you back up to be a sailor. They break it down to be an amoeba, and from there they build you up into a sailor. And that's basically what they do. And they mess with you till they get your attention. While I was in there, they asked me what I wanted to do, and I told them I wanted to be a photographer, actually. Maybe fly in a plane and take aerial photographs, But did 8 weeks there, and then they had other ideas, so that's when they first of all sent me to Norfolk, and I was working the line on the flight line at the air base while I was waiting my A school, and I worked on the flight line there, parking planes and fueling them and so on. Every plane the Navy had. We had from jets to big C-131s. They landed. We parked them. Found a spot for them on the flight, or we were told where to park them, and we parked them and put the chocks under the wheels, fueled them. Yeah, that was basically our job while I was at Norfolk. After I did that, I was going to AE school. I just went to Norfolk for temporary additional duty. And then I received my orders to report to Naval Air Station in Jacksonville, Florida for the AE school, which I did. I reported down there, and I spent about another 8 months or so at AEA school in Jax. How to be an electrician on a Navy aircraft. All the different electrical systems, the generating systems, the lighting systems. Part of our systems were autopilot. Not as much as the ATs had more to do with autopilot, but the AEs, we had some black boxes that were, and so they just basically taught us how to read schematics, how DC, versus AC currents work. It was just basic electrical systems in Navy aircraft. At A school, we were training for all aircraft. Oh, we had a great time. Again, it was, we all lived in the barracks and marched to the chow hall, you know. You do a lot of marching in the Navy. But but the school was from Reveille until, you know, till the end of, till we were done for the day, usually around 4:30. And like I say, as soon as we were done, every day, we'd run down, get our motorcycles and head to the beach. And spend the evening there and make sure we were back in time for a roll call in the morning. I was there for about maybe 6 months. And then after I got out of there, I was officially an aviation electrician aide. And I then received my orders to report to VF-31 at Naval Air Station Oceana. When I joined VF-31, then they sent me to school for F-4Bs. We flew the F-4Bs in VF-31. That was the planes that we had. And then later on, after I'd been there a while, we transitioned up to the F-4Js, which were a little more technical, a little more complicated. I met VF-31. They sent me to the NAS Oceana, and they put me in a barracks. VF-31 was out at sea at the time, so I had to wait for them to come back. They were on a med cruise. So I had about a week or two waiting for them, which I just kind of hung out and did nothing. And then they got back, and I joined, and I got to meet the guys in the squad, and then I got to meet the guys in my shop. And then, you know, from then on, we just all hung out together and worked together. Well, I was there from the time I got out of A school till I retired, till my time was up in April of '69. While I was in VF-31, I took the tests and moved up, got, you know, 3rd class and then 2nd class. Once we became E5, we were allowed to move on to the beach if we wanted to, so myself and 4 or 5 other guys got a bungalow on Virginia Beach within walking distance of the beach, and had a lot of fun. You know, but worked hard. We worked hard, had fun. And then, well, while I was with VF-31, a couple of times we had hot pad duty down in Key West, Florida. It must have been about 66, I guess. It was hot. You know, hot pad, it wasn't called hot pad duty because it was hot down there. It was called hot pad duty because we were just a few miles from Cuba, and it's a hot zone. But while we were there, we went into Key West proper, and you know, saw the bar where Hemingway hung out, and we did some. One of the guys knew a girl down there who had a boat, so we went out and gigging lobsters, which was against the law. We found out later. You're not supposed to gig the lobsters, especially during mating season. And it's like, you know, if you get fined, it's like $1,000 per lobster. And we got about 10 lobsters. That was the most expensive lobster I ever ate, actually. But of course, we didn't get caught. And we got about 10 lobsters and cooked them in a barbecue, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Something different. I had never done that before. They also sent us out to Fallon, Nevada, which I never knew they had a Navy base in the middle of the desert, but they do. And we, you know, our pilots and our aircraft was involved in war games out in Fallon, Nevada, bombing practice and so on. It was similar to the hot pad duty down in Key West. It was, you know, the pilots, the planes were flying, going out on exercises, training exercises, all day, and then, you know, whatever broke in the plane, electrical, we had to fix, you know. So we spent, while they were flying, we couldn't work on the planes, but as soon as they got back, you know, we had to fix the planes. and then they would let us go on Liberty for the evening. And I did manage to go to Reno for one night while I was there, but and we caught a bunch of scorpions and put them in a cardboard box to watch them fight. You know, bet on the scorpion. But yeah, like I say, it was very hot. It was very hot in Fallon, Nevada. I met the Saratoga was in where was she? She was over by Bermuda, and I spent about a week in Gitmo waiting to be flown over to the Sarah. It was different. It was, you know, it's another Navy base. You know, the base itself was basically, and like any other Navy base, you know. But we weren't allowed to go outside the gate. We weren't allowed, you know, in Guantanamo at all. You know, we just had to stay on the base. To catch a helicopter and fly me over to the Sarah on the helicopter. I was with a few other guys, and they choppered us out to the Saratoga, and we just, you know, hopped off, and they said, go in that door, and somebody will tell you where your spaces are. I was lost for 2 days. I roamed around the ship looking for my spaces, for my, you know, my where I was going to sleep and so on. It seemed like 2 days. And of course the knee knockers, you know, you got to get used to the knee knockers. You got to step over and duck your head both at the same time, and otherwise you're going to get hurt. But yeah, it took a couple days for me to get the layout of the land, and once I found my bunk and got settled in, and you know, then it was normal routine every day. You know, for 8 months we were out there for 8 months, and then after that we went on a med cruise. It was a 67 med cruise. It was quite a cruise. We were out at sea for months because it was great. It was a great experience. I loved it. Well, going over was great. I loved, like I say, I loved it. I was up on deck as much as I could be because I enjoyed being at sea. You know, the sunsets and the sunrises and the sunsets are beautiful. I used to hang out on the bow as much as I could. And, you know, it's true. I mean, at night you can see the sulfur in the water. Sometimes you can see the dolphins and so on swimming in the wake of from the bow. It was you know, it was all new to me, so it was all different, and I loved every minute of it. I loved being at sea. And as soon as we got into the Mediterranean, the 67 Israeli war started, and the Navy sent us to go sit off the coast of Israel, which we did for quite a while, another month or so, I guess. And when we finally go ashore, we did so in Suda Bay Crete. Unfortunately, VF-31 has quite a reputation in Suda Bay Crete. We kind of tore the town apart. They actually canceled Liberty after that for this whole ship. They wouldn't let anybody off the ship for a couple of days because of our behavior. I'm not proud of it. I wasn't part of it, actually. I just went in and went to Heraclian, the Greek monuments and so on Crete. But it was a good, you know, other than that, it was a good cruise. We went to Athens, we went to Naples several times, Athens, Istanbul. While I was in Naples, I took a bus trip up to Rome. Well, I worked the 4 to 12. The planes would fly usually during the day, but then sometimes they did night ops. But when the planes weren't flying, we were fixing them. But it took me a little while to get used to sleeping on the Sarah because my bunk, I had a top bunk. They were 3 high, and mine was on the top. And when I laid on my back, I could reach up like this and touch the bottom of the flight deck. You know, it was just all steel, and that was the bottom of the flight deck, and I was right underneath the number three wire. So they were I had aircraft landing on my head for 8 months. It was quite loud. quite loud, because not only did you have the initial bang when the aircraft lands, but then they had to drag the cable back, and you know, you could hear it coming down the deck until it finally got to where I was, and then it would bounce a couple times. It did that for 8 months. We did Christmas on board ship, actually, and we did that off the coast of Israel. I remember thinking to myself, wow, here I am right off the coast of Israel, where you know the Catholic faith all started, you know, and I'm here for Christmas and not, you know, not home, not with my family, but here. And so of course I was very homesick, but I was also just amazed at the whole thing, you know, where we were and the time of year and so on. Made it important. They just, you know, they gave you a good dinner, you know, really, you know, steak and ice cream, and you know, they gave you the best they had, the best they could do. On VF-31, we had the F-4s, and they were the only planes that we worked on. They say it's got the aerodynamics of a rock, but when you put those two big jet engines on it, even a rock will fly, you know. It's a very impressive plane. It's you know, even though, and again, I only flew in one once, and one of the pilots took me for a ride, and it was great. But they're incredibly maneuverable. You know, it's a fantastic aircraft. But they're impressive to watch too and listen to. I mean, they're so loud, and when they go off the flight deck and put it in afterburner, it's, you know, it's loud. Even when we were at Virginia Beach, if you were out on the beach and they were doing flight ops at NAS Oceana, you could hear them coming up the coast, miles away. And they'd go zooming by, and you'd hear them all the way up till they got to New York or wherever they were going. They're loud and they're impressive. There were other F-4 squadrons on board ship, and there were helicopter squadrons and heavy squadrons and so on. And, you know, there were lots of other squadrons, but we just worked. Each squadron just worked on their own planes. Coming back from the Mediterranean was quite an adventure. On the way back, in fact, I mean, it's in the books. It's in the Med-Cruise book, and we made the news and so on. We hit a North Atlantic storm on the way back, and it was incredible. For a carrier to be going like this is very unusual. You know, the destroyers and the cruisers, those guys are used to that kind of stuff. On a carrier, you know, a carrier just kind of sits still. You know, it doesn't go with the ocean very much, you know. But the waves were so big. We went up to the observation desk. Myself and another guy. We weren't supposed to be up there, but we went up to the observation deck, and because it was just, you know, I wanted to see what was going on outside, because the ship was rocking and rolling so much. So we went up, and we got up there, and we watched the bow going like this, and when it went down, we had blue water, not just spray, but blue water coming up over the front of the flight deck. And it was so bad, in fact, that it took the catapults and peeled them back like somebody had done it with a can opener. They just peeled back the catapults on both sides. I mean the catwalks on both sides. And we lost the ship's bell, which was really a shame. I mean, that bell probably was on one Saratoga or another ever since they, you know, it was cast, you know. And so, yeah, that was sad that we lost the ship's bell. But and it washed I think one or two planes off the flight deck, and like I say, it took the catwalks and peeled them right back. So when you were down inside the ship, I mean, going up and down stairs going up and down the ladders were quite exciting. You know, if you were going down when the ship was coming down, when the ship was coming up, you just about, you know, flew down the stairs, you know, because you became weightless, and it was an adventure going up and down ladders. And even in the chow hall, some guys got some broken ribs because they had tables and chairs like these, and they hadn't, you know, usually they tie everything down. But the waves were so bad that if you were sitting up against a wall like I am, the tables would come at you. You know, when the ship's going like this, everything's sliding this way, and a couple of guys got, you know, weren't ready, and it got some crushed ribs with the tables coming and hitting them right in the ribs. So it was quite a trip back. It was a memorable trip. I'll never forget it. It was really different. Well, we came back. We manned the rail. We came into where did we come into? Mayport, I believe. You know, they had the Navy band was on the landing playing, and lots of, you know, all the family members with their wives and kids and so on were down there waiting for it. And we manned the rail, so that was impressive. You know, having all those sailors around the railing of the ship. It was pretty neat. You know, it was a great cruise. In fact, I used to tell my kids the stories of all the places I had been while I was in the Navy. My son enlisted in the Navy when he turned 18. Went nowhere. He went to Norfolk, Virginia. He got stationed on the USS America. No, the America, and he no sooner got stationed there, and it went into dry dock, and that's where he stayed for almost his whole 4 years that he was in. So he went nowhere. Well, I was a short timer when we got back. So of course, you know, I went home and visited with my family and so on. And by then, I had also met who was going to, you know, my wife, and was traveling back and forth to Loretto, Pennsylvania every weekend. So we were working, fixed, you know, life goes on. They were still doing flight ups every day, the pilots and so on, and we fixed the planes when they broke. Weekends we went on Liberty up to Pennsylvania, and then, like I say, I was getting to be a short timer, so that's when they approached me and said, hey, if you want to go to, if you want, we'll give you a 4 month out, you know, an early out, 4 month or early out if you go TAD down to Roosevelt Roads in Puerto Rico and work on their planes down on their helicopters. I didn't know anything about helicopters, but I said, sure, you know. So I did. I went down there and spent 4 months in Rosie Roads, and went into Old San Juan, and you know, enjoyed someplace I had never been before.